This week on Aussie JetSetter, we get to fly on the world's largest operator of the trusty workhorse that is the Swedish-built SAAB 340. We get to experience the rare chance to fly on an airline that long has since collapsed, yet somehow still remains operating in a state of voluntary administration. An airline somehow still hanging on by a thread courtesy of funding from foreign investment firms, state government subsidies, and the Australian government regional flight booking guarantee. An airline considered too important to fail, so much so that the Australian federal government has committed to buying it should no buyer be found. We're flying on Australia's Rex Airlines on an interstate flight in West Australia between its state capital of Perth and the beautiful southern coastal city of Albany. So with all the disruption and uncertainty going on at this airline over the last year or so, come join me as I show you a little hack to get massively discounted regional airfares, and we get to experience the real state of affairs at Regional Express in 2025. Good morning and welcome to Perth Airport's Terminal 2. It's bright and somewhat early, about 7:45 on this Saturday morning. It's going to be a very exciting day today. We're going to be flying to the beautiful regional city of Albany. Population about some 40,000 people, one of West Australia's largest regional centres, down there on the south coast, about 400 odd kilometres south of Perth. In my 30 odd years of living in West Australia, I've been to Albany many times. But every time I've been there, always driven. But today we're actually going to be flying down to Albany for the very first time. And we're also going to be flying on Rex on their traditional regionally focused aircraft for the very first time. That's their trusty SAAB 340 aircraft. Rex, believe it or not, are actually the largest operator of the SAAB 340 in the whole world. I believe there's a total of 57 in their fleet. I've flown and reviewed Rex a few times before, but that was when they had their ill-fated venture into the domestic intercity market with the jet services. So I did try them in business class between Melbourne and Sydney on the 737-800, thought that was outstanding. Also last year, also travelled on the very short-lived service I had between Perth and Adelaide that was operated for them on behalf of their wholly owned National Jet Express. That was on the Embraer E190. With all the turmoil that's been going on at Rex over the last 9 months or so, been a lot of talk about the airline's future. Obviously the jet services collapsed. They're still hanging on by a thread with their regional services with the SAAB 340. Many of these routes are subsidised. This one indeed is a regular public transport route, so it is indeed subsidised by the government. Rex are also in a state of voluntary administration or some sort of administration at the moment, really hanging on by a thread. The Australian government has actually announced that they will buy out Rex if they can't find a buyer. So really keen to see what Rex are like in 2025, an airline that really is struggling and really is hanging on for dear life. Interestingly enough, regional flights in West Australia are typically very, very expensive. These flights down to Albany typically retail for over $300 to $400 one way. However, when I was reviewing prices on this route a couple months ago, I noticed an interesting commonality. These $139 flights. They always seem to be at short notice. So a little bit more research revealed that at the 24-hour mark, any available seats on Rex in West Australia and on select routes in other states pretty well get discounted quite substantially. So I actually booked this flight yesterday. It literally went from $419 to exactly $139 the moment it was 24 hours before. So yeah, just logged into the Rex website, did a fake booking, brought up the seat map, was pretty confident that at the 24-hour mark there'd be seats available. Did hedge my bets booking the Trans-WA coach for $75 just in case I wasn't able to secure a cheap Rex fare. But yeah, lo and behold, at 24 hours before I was able to get the cheap Rex fare, so I cancelled the Trans-WA coach, and yeah, here we are. So without further ado, let's head into the Terminal 2, which I know is going to be incredibly quiet on a Saturday morning. Get checked in, and yeah, come join me as we fly to Albany this morning. Should be an enjoyable one. Anyway, before we do that, let's have a look at our route information for our flight ZO2113 down to Albany this morning. So great circle distance on this one is 374 kilometres to the southeast of Perth. Actual flight time today is only 50 minutes, which is a bit quicker than the gazetted flight time of 1 hour and 10. As we head in, for your information, Perth Airport is currently the 4th busiest airport in the whole of Australia. Perth is actually also the 4th largest city in the whole country. Perth Airport is located approximately 10 kilometres east of the Perth Central Business District. We've just got the train to the airport on the relatively new airport line today to about 20 minutes from the Perth city centre, or about 1 hour from where I was living down Fremantle Way. 2024 was really a bumper year for aviation in West Australia, with a record 16.9 million people passing through the 4 terminals of Perth Airport. Today we're flying out of Terminal 2, which is commonly informally coined to be Perth Airport's mining and regional WA terminal. This is because of the high amount of FIFO mining charter services that depart from the terminal and flights on smaller airlines out to West Australia's vast regions. It's the home of Alliance Airlines, Nexus, some of Virgin Australia's predominantly charter operations, Rex Airlines, Airline, and as of September last year, Jetstar Australia, who are now the only airline offering interstate services from this terminal. Anyway, on to check-in. To say it was an easy process this morning would certainly be an understatement. As you can see, the airport is absolutely dead quiet, being a Saturday morning due to the lack of mining flights departing from the terminal. Anyway, as for check-in, done the old-fashioned way here for Rex. As per all the other airlines at Terminal 2 here in Perth, only took about 5 seconds, however, as the queue was absolutely 0 people. You do get included baggage allowance on Rex for regional services. It is slightly less at 15 kilos, however, than your usual jet services in Australia, so just keep that in mind. Security was also super quick, only took about a minute or so to get through. After having spent several weeks travelling around the United States going through multiple TSA security checkpoints, security still seems a few steps behind in intensity here in Australia. As for Terminal 2, it's not the most exciting of terminals here in Perth, probably my least favourite to be honest, because it really focused to regional flights, but if you did have more time you can certainly walk over to Virgin Australia's T1 Domestic, which you can do airside where there's more shops and food and dining options. Actually no great views of the aircraft on the tarmac until you've gone past the boarding gate here in Perth, but nonetheless here's our ride down to Albany this morning. It's Victor Hotel Zulu X-Ray Foxtrot. For SAAB 340 standards, it's actually one of the younger ones, shy under 28 years of age at time of taking this flight. Quite a diverse operating history on this one. Spent a lot of time in North America. First was delivered to Masiba Airlines in May of 1997, before quickly moving over to Northwest Airlines. Then acquired by Delta Connection in October 2008, followed by US Airways Express in January 2011, PAL Airlines in Canada of August 2012, before somehow coming under the ownership of Wells Fargo Bank Northwest in August 2015, before Rex acquired it finally in December 2015. So welcome aboard our Rex SAAB 340. There's 2 configurations in the fleet, so that either have 33 or 34 seats. Generally speaking, it's a 1-2 configuration, though depending on the aircraft type, the last row may have that extra seat, just like the last row of a commuter bus. Anyway, seat pitch for these aircraft is pretty standard, nothing amazing at 30 inches and a width of 18 inches for both aircraft types. At your seat you'll find a standard fold-back tray table, reading literature including the Rex Inflight magazine and safety demo card, and overhead so got an adjustable air vent and call attendant button. Anyway, what better time now to enjoy those turboprop engines fire up, enjoy our taxi out to the runway and our takeoff out of Perth this morning. Once in the air, I'll go over the full Rex in-flight service experience.
Check it, pull down on the red toggles. further inflation, plus a whistle to attract attention, and a light which will operate automatically in the water. Life jackets are not to be inflated until outside the aircraft. There are dropping for low passengers carrying on board the shoulders area if required. Located in your seat pocket is the cabin safety information card which shows the brake position and other important information on what to do in the unlikely event of an emergency. Please take a moment to read your card. Your attention and once again welcome.
And just like that, we're well and truly on our way to cruising altitude of 17,000 feet on our way southeast, cutting through the southwest corner of Western Australia. Anyway, before our onboard service commences, let's have a quick look at the entertainment options on Rex. Long story short, there isn't any, aside from the Truly Oz Inflight magazine. Actually a pretty good read, this one, some substantially good content in there on regional Australia, plenty of destination guides to many of the destinations that Rex visit as well, so well worth a read, can help kill half an hour or so of time. The best entertainment on this aircraft, even despite the partly cloudy conditions outside, is of course the views outside. Being seated on the left hand side of the aircraft, we're treated to some absolutely spectacular views of the massive Boddington gold mine, approximately 120 kilometres southeast of Perth. It is actually the largest open pit gold mine in the whole of Australia now. Since it opened in 2010, it's actually eclipsed Kalgoorlie's famous super pit. So very cool views outside indeed. Also to be had on this flight are great views of West Australia's agriculturally focused wheat belt and Great Southern regions. Anyway, onto the in-flight offering. You get basically exactly what Rex advertised on this flight. A choice of tea, coffee and water, and a snack which is basically a sweet or savoury option. I went the savoury option, which is basically some corn chips and cheese puffs. Also opted for a coffee, which was much appreciated considering I literally only had 1.5 hours sleep the night before. So all in all, a pretty appropriate snack for a short regional flight on a regional turboprop aircraft in my opinion. Aside from that, not too much more to report about this flight. The aircraft is actually quite warm still on board. Obviously got pretty hot sitting out on the tarmac in Perth and hasn't really recovered. Anyway, let's have a look at the onboard lavatory, just one at the front. And as you can expect, it's incredibly tight here on the SAAB 340. Really struggled to actually stand up properly in here. No actual running water either, just hand sanitizer provided. Just showing you for the purpose of what it looks like today. But yeah, for a short flight like this, you're probably better hanging on unless you really need it. Anyway, as the pilot alluded to, we're now ready to commence our descent into Albany Regional Airport. There's a few bumps along the way coming in, but aside from that, we've got a bit of time now to sit back, relax and enjoy our landing. Once on the ground, I'll go over my final thoughts and verdict on today's Rex experience. And just like that, welcome to beautiful Albany. Really has been a fantastic, very enjoyable flight on Rex today. Before we wrap up the review, let me just comment a little bit about the state of Rex in 2025 and whether I think the Australian government should buy them out. To be honest, while I tend to gravitate to free markets in general, I do actually think the acquisition of Rex Airlines by the federal government would be a smart move in the national interest. Rex have a huge regional network connecting regional Australia with the bigger cities, also provides vital air and cargo links to some of the most remote outposts in the country. And the collapse of this airline would have far more reaching consequences than just for the folks who own it. With the severing of vital air links to remote Australian outposts would have severe economic and social welfare consequences for the country. And also considering many of Rex's regional routes such as this one operate on exclusive one airline regular public transportation government contracts, and many other receive subsidies, I reckon it may just be operationally more efficient for the government to run the airline in-house itself, reducing overheads by lowering regulations in the regional aviation market, obviously not having to pay subsidies as well. It could also increase competition on regional markets by reducing regulatory barriers to competition, and hopefully bringing cost savings to the regional Australian flyer and ultimately the Australian taxpayer, whom if they had owned Rex prior to the ill-fated jet market expansion actually would have been owning a profit-making airline. So let me know in the comments below whether you prefer to see Rex continue to be privately owned, albeit with high likelihood of government assistance, or the government just buy them out altogether. Just like that, folks, welcome to beautiful Albany. Not Albany, which is the state capital of New York. There's a fun fact for you. We're actually here in beautiful Albany, Western Australia, where the weather is notably cooler than up in Perth, where it was literally 40 degrees yesterday. and only about 20 degrees here in summer. Bit of light rain around and cloud cover as well. So on to the Rex service today. First time actually flying on their stalwart SAAB 340 aircraft, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. Thought it was a really top-notch experience. Really old school hospitality and service done right on Rex. Very hard to find anything to fault whatsoever. The single crew member serving us today was incredibly friendly. Really old school hospitality, really liked that. Got served tea and coffee, also sweet and savoury snack as well, so really hard to complain for a short 1 hour flight. We left on time as well. We arrived about 20 minutes early, so yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. Also, the attention to detail of the Rex crew member was really good as well. As we are about 15 kilometres outside of central Albany, she actually went around asking people if they needed a taxi. So yeah, they must have phoned in over the air traffic control to book some taxis ahead of time. So just very small things like that really make me very impressed with Rex. And yeah, the price today was really good as well, $139. So keep that little travel hack in mind. It's more relevant, the community fare for West Australia based routes. That's Albany, Esperance and Carnarvon/Monkey Mia. I think there's a few routes in Queensland and elsewhere in Australia that have the same sort of deal as well. But yeah, 24 hours before, the fares get slashed significantly, pretty well half the price, even more. I went down from $419 to $139. So if you're flexible, that's definitely the way to go. Place like Albany, you can hedge your bets, book the coach down to Albany. It will take you 6 hours, $75. And yeah, if you can't get your $139 flight at the last minute, at least you've still got a ride. And yeah, if you do need to cancel the Trans WA coach, they do charge a 10% cancellation fee, but yeah, you get the rest in a refund, so only lost $7, hard to complain. Definitely be doing the same for a trip to Esperance coming up soon. Anyway, if you have enjoyed today's flight review, I really enjoyed my lovely little Saturday morning flying on Rex down to Albany. Hope you have as well. If you have enjoyed it, really appreciate it. Do give it a like. Maybe leave your comments down below. Share amongst your family and friends. And of course, if you haven't already, if you do enjoy my content, please do consider subscribing to the channel so you won't miss plenty more exciting flight reviews coming up, including some great reviews from the United States of America, where I recently visited. But in the meantime, you may also wish to visit my website, aussiejetsetter.com.au, for latest flight reviews, intercity news, destination guides, frequent flyer hacks and more. Maybe even check out my dedicated Instagram page as well. Check out what I'm doing around the world in real time. Even got a Discord server for fans and community of the channel these days. You can come together there to discuss all things aviation and travel. But from here in beautiful Albany, Western Australia, down on the lovely South Coast, thanks so much once again for watching today's flight review. Until next one, safe travels, wherever that might take you.